well, welcome to the 38 Stars Podcast. Our goal with this podcast is to discuss our opinions as youth in Colorado. Today, we start our first episode of a 10-episode series where we discuss the Bill of Rights.
Yeah, that's right, Anthony, and kind of our interpretations of it. So we're going to start with the First Amendment today, obviously. But before we get to that, just a quick introduction of everyone we've got here. We've got myself. My name's Tobin.
I'm Anthony.
Ashton.
Andrew.
And yeah, let's just get straight into it, bro. So basically, the Bill of Rights is the first 10 amendments added to our Constitution, pretty much immediately ratified after the Constitution was ratified. And the First Amendment is the first of the 10. 5 rights are guaranteed in the First Amendment, and I'm going to have Ashton read the First Amendment actually word for word for us here.
Okay, so the First Amendment word for word is Congress shall make no law respectful in establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise therefor and abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or of the rights of the people peacefully to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievance.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of encompassing the 5 rights that are guaranteed by the First Amendment. A lot of people don't know, but the First Amendment isn't just free speech. It's also with the right to free speech. You have the right to petition the government. Let's see. You have the right of peacefully assembling. You have the right to have a free press, and you have freedom of religion. That's
Freedom
right.
of
Yep,
religion,
that's
yeah.
right. But we'll go ahead and start with freedom of speech, since that's the most well-known one. But another not so well-known thing about this part of the First Amendment is that there's actually some pretty significant exceptions to it. And we'll have Anthony kind of read those 5 that the Supreme Court kind of defines here.
Okay, so the 5 main exceptions to freedom of speech is defamation. So any false statement that damages a person's reputation can easily lead to civil liabilities. True threats, so any threat to commit a crime is completely prohibited. Fighting words, so any like face-to-face personal insults that can likely lead to a fight. And obscenities, so like hardcore or like super explicit sexual words, completely protected by the First Amendment and prohibited. And then commercial advertising, so speech advertising a product or service that is constitutionally protected, but not as much as other speech.
Yeah, exactly. And so those are actually not protected by the Constitution. So any of those you can be prosecuted for. And commonly celebrities will go after things like defamation or sometimes true threats. These are pretty hard to pin down, though. Usually courts look at true threats through the lens of you have to be a reasonable person and think this is a real threat in order for it to be prosecuted. But basically, that's kind of what everybody agrees on. But nowadays, we have a lot more things going on in our world. We have the internet, social media. There's a lot more different means to express ourselves. And with that comes some gray area that the original Constitution, which is still our legal document that defines the United States, doesn't really account for. And so one of the first things I want to talk about and discuss with you guys is kind of the issue of social media. And I know the TikTok ban was actually a pretty big deal. I think that was last year mainly, right?
Yes.
But essentially, in a recent Supreme Court case, TikTok versus Garland, the Supreme Court affirmed that banning an app did not violate the First Amendment. This is because it's a whole app. It's not necessarily free forum of democracy, and there's still other outlets for people to express their opinions. So that's kind of the opinion of the Supreme Court, but I'm curious what you guys are thinking about this.
What was their reason for banning?
They thought the Chinese Communist Party was stealing Americans' data because it's a Chinese-owned company that runs TikTok.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree with the Supreme Court. I don't think that violates the First Amendment.
Really?
No.
Why? What's your reasoning?
Because like you were basically just explaining, it's not taking away people's ability to communicate with others and say what their opinion is, right? Like their reasoning for doing it isn't that people were like going against the government or like doing all this stuff. Like they're not prohibiting people from saying things. It was a completely different issue. So I don't think that at all has anything to do with limiting free speech.
Fair enough.
Especially because, like you said, there's other outlets that people can use at all.
There's a pretty common argument though that it's a slippery slope to other forms of communication being banned. What's your what's your response to that?
Well, I would say until those are banned, you can't say that it's like I would think if they banned all of social media, it would be completely different. Because if you ban all of social media, then you're completely taking away the easiness of communication that it provides, and the ability for people to see news on social media is like it's extremely essential. I feel like, especially in the modern world. So
Yeah,
I feel like if you
for
get rid
sure.
of all of social media, then it definitely is a problem. But I don't think removing one app is.
You can make the same argument for removing all social media versus just removing TikTok, because you're just saying, oh, we're just removing a little bit of this forum in which you can exercise free speech. And you could say if you got rid of all social media, you would also be only removing a little bit of your forum to express free speech, because there's other means by which you can express free speech as well. So your argument still holds for when we're attacking all the social media companies. So how'd you respond to that?
Hmm. Well, I think that it completely depends on if the government's reasoning for removing it, like because of the Chinese Communist Party, like if that's accurate. Because like really, if their people's data is being stolen, then yeah, it makes sense to ban that app. I mean, like their intention isn't to limit our free speech at all. So I mean, if it what maybe it's what if it was some random app that wasn't used by millions of people? Like what if it was used by like a few hundred people, but it was doing the same thing? Like would people still have that same problem that it's limiting the free speech? Like it's even though the reasoning is completely different.
Yeah,
I
I'd say
mean,
so. I mean, I feel like you should be able to use what you want with, you know, you should be warned what's going on.
for sure, but if that I don't feel like that's limiting free speech because it's protecting us from having our data leaked. No?
But you should be able to choose if you want that, right?
If you want your data leaked,
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean,
Yeah.
that's not really something a reasonable person would do, but you should still have the option to do it, right?
but I mean, I think it. Yeah, but if they're doing it, it's not like people are choosing to have their data leaked. Like they're choosing to. Sure, they're choosing to use that platform, but
Well, if you know that you're
like
having your data
the government's
stolen,
trying to protect them from.
okay. Well, I feel like the idea of the First Amendment was to prevent it is to prevent government overreach in the first place.
Okay, yeah, for sure,
And so I feel like that's definitely a slippery slope because people want power, and censorship is a real issue in other parts of the world,
for sure,
where they can just remove that kind of stuff with whatever reasoning they want.
for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Would so do you think that it was against the First Amendment?
I think it should be, yes. I think you should have any way to exercise your free speech. And I feel like, I guess it's not protected for the company though. That's interesting. Yeah. So under Virginia Pharmacy versus Virginia Citizens Council, this was a 1976 decision, so pretty old and before the digital era. Advertising for a product or service is constitutionally protected, but not as much as other speech. So if it's misleading, the government can ban it. But if it's political, it coming from a company, it generally can't be. So that's such a tough gray area there, isn't it? Ashton, what do you think?
Well, it's a gray area because so like for political advertisements, you can say whatever you want because it's because advertising is protected differently than like freedom of speech. But wouldn't the advertisement be technically a form of freedom of speech because
It, it is.
it's sending out a message, but different than it's
It's
graded different.
yeah, it's protected different than individual speech.
See, like I think you should be able to. I think it should be on the same level because I think advertising, especially when they were writing this in 1776, was definitely very different than how it is now. Like how wide it is. Because I mean, when they were writing it, the advertisements were like newspapers and stuff, and now it's
Right.
digital
Right.
and it's so it's
Well, this is common law, and just to give a kind of a preface as to what common law is, this was decided in 1976 by the Supreme Court. Generally, when the Supreme Court makes a decision on something, for example, Brown versus Board of Education, that made segregation in schools basically illegal without having an act of Congress in order to make that illegal. So whenever the Supreme Court makes a decision like that, it basically becomes law. So this became quote unquote common law in 1976
Okay.
with this Virginia Pharmacy versus Virginia Citizens Council decision.
I mean, even in 1976, the media is still not the same as it is now.
Yeah, it's a lot different, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm honestly, being honest with you, I'm still confused on what was happening in the 1976 one. Like,
So the Supreme Court decided, I don't know the specifics of that case, but the Supreme Court decided that advertising a product or service is constitutionally protected, just like individual speech, but not the same as individual speech. So, like, for example, the government can ban misleading advertisement, like saying smoking cigarettes is good for your health,
oh, okay.
but it can't ban misleading political speech. So, if Coca-Cola wanted to say that Donald Trump is, you know, some claim about him, right?
Yeah, okay.
The government can't do anything about it. It's illegal.
And what do you think? You think that's good? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I feel like the free speech of corporations should be protected. I mean, corporations have some rights, but as we'll get into later, I think there's definitely some more limitations that need to be imposed.
Okay.
Yeah. The next part of this free speech thing is there was recently a decision with Citizens United. I think this was during Obama's administration, where the Supreme Court decided it was a 5-4 decision. So 5 justices approving and 4 opposing, which is a very close case, that money is a part of free speech. So, and this applies for political campaigns. So we're talking about kind of like dark money and people giving money to super PACs and all that kind of stuff.
Like Bitcoin kind of stuff, like
No,
digital coins,
like
or
donations, anonymous donations of real money to political campaigns. The Supreme Court has decided that is free speech.
that is free speech.
Yes.
Like influencing like an election and stuff like that is completely free speech. Like with
Yeah,
money,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
donations
Donations are
like that.
totally protected.
okay, I think
Yep.
that's good.
You think that's good?
I don't think that's wrong at all.
Ooh, I disagree with you.
Okay, why?
I disagree. Well, because like we talked about in our kind of test episode, which we're not gonna publish. It was kind of a train wreck.
Say unless it's like another country. I think that
Unless it's another country.
because I think they can. I don't think that because that's obviously not in the best influence for
Right.
our people. That would be in the best interest for their people.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? I think there's a clear bias there. I don't think you can. I feel like that's wrong. But yeah, what were you gonna say?
But I mean, if they're here in the United States and they're giving donations to these PACs, or even abroad,
Interesting.
like what's the pro-Israel PAC, AI PAC,
AIPAC?
AA PAC? Yeah,
Yeah.
they get money from foreign countries.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
We don't know where that comes from. We don't know how much.
I don't like that.
It's free speech though, and then it goes millions of dollars going to campaigns.
So they can
And can sway
basically
elections,
they
you know?
can just completely sway an election because
I
with their
mean,
money.
I really would like to give the benefit of the doubt to the American public and say that we make educated decisions without the influence of campaigns.
Yes.
But that's
you
just not
can't say
true.
that.
Yeah,
That's
you
just
can't
not
say
true.
it's not accurate.
So yeah, I mean, I didn't even think about that. I was thinking like kind of still thinking about the companies like
Yeah,
putting money into who they
yeah,
want.
for sure.
But I think that is definitely different when you think about. I mean, I know there's a lot of stuff being talked about with Israel, but
Yeah, for
I think
sure.
it's real for sure. I mean, you can't have
There shouldn't be
that's not in the
foreign
best.
influence
That's not
on
in the
our
best
elections.
interest of
Yeah.
our people at
Yeah.
all.
I mean, the Germans
know?
tried the same thing in 1940. They
Yep.
tried to get Roosevelt out of office because they knew
Exactly.
he was going to do bad stuff to Germany, and he did.
I think that's completely. I don't think that's. I think that's against the Constitution because it's, or unconstitutional or Bill of
Yeah.
Rights. You know, because it's. I don't think that's what the founding fathers would have wanted.
Yeah,
That's all.
I totally
They
agree.
want the people in America to decide who they want representing them.
Yeah,
Not
without-
not
with-
any other
Without influence.
influence.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's why we have the right to, a secret ballot. You don't want someone looking over your
Yep.
shoulder when you're at the polls. You
For
don't need
sure.
a poll tax. You don't need a poll exam. Like, that's all protected in the Constitution, not in the Bill of Rights. I think that's 15th Amendment. I think.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I'd literally have to go get my Constitution. I have like a copy in my
Oh, that's
in my
funny.
room. I
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
it's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna agree with the thought with like money. That's like freedom of speech because people should just be able to use that to kind of express that. So that's all I was gonna say.
Well, I think ultimately it's the fact that the system, in my opinion, is flawed. I don't think anybody should even have that much money to be able to influence. I mean, like I'm talking about like entrepreneurs and stuff. Obviously, countries are gonna have enough money, but like I don't think anyone should have that much money in the first place. But
Yeah, I can kind of see your point with like too much power and like all of that. Yeah, like I could totally see that, but
because all of a sudden, someone who's a billionaire, their opinion weighs more than mine because they have a bunch of money and can sway and influence the votes.
yeah, there's where you can go wrong with power and money, because then you feel like you don't have as much power as they do.
Yeah, well, just going back to the Israel thing, there's a lot of, especially in the Middle East, I think that the wealth like distribution in the Middle East is very varied because there's a lot of really big oil reserves in the
Yeah.
Middle East, so they just have poverty for less fortunate people in the Middle East. So the money distribution is like pretty very rough in the Middle East. So yeah, just more influence on the United States, which we don't need.
I
So
agree.
so yeah, I don't think I agree with that.
One last thing I thought I might bring up with free speech before we move on to kind of the other rights that are protected within the First Amendment. Texas versus Johnson. I believe this was during, 1989. Never mind. So it was in 1989 that the Supreme Court decided that flag burning is constitutionally protected as free speech.
I 100% agree with that.
100% agree with that.
I mean, that literally is like
That
people can go against the government. Boom. That's
that
okay.
people can burn the country. See that like that makes sense. I just feel like that's not right. Like that doesn't seem like a right thing. Like I would never burn an American flag. That's like that sounds like the worst thing you could do almost, you know?
For sure.
Like yeah.
But like, let's say worst comes to worst. I mean, like if you were a Nazi, I'm serious, in Nazi Germany in the 1940s, and you were against it and you wanted to unite, I mean, that would be a very symbolic thing to burn the Nazi flag.
Yeah.
So, if our country got to a point like that, which,
Yeah.
I don't know if it did, then I would think,
Yeah, let's hope not.
no,
Yeah.
definitely not. But I'm just saying, like, obviously, I think it's important. It's an important symbolic thing, like to say that we're not happy, for
Yeah.
sure. And I think people can do whatever they want too.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's a material thing. I know it.
Yeah, I think it's just what the founding fathers wanted. Just people can do what they want, kind of thing. Like I mean, it's like that's like one of the worst things I think you can do to like show like patriotism to the United States to burn a flag. But people can do what they want. I mean,
Yeah, for sure.
just it shouldn't be like people shouldn't be like limited to they can't burn a flag. Then it's kind of
Then it's too controlling.
then it's too controlling.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like it doesn't sound right to burn a flag, and we feel like that really shouldn't be a thing. That should be like limited. But like, if it gets too out of hand, then I could see like what Anthony was saying about like burning a flag if it got to that point. Also what Ashton was saying, like people can do whatever they want, like regarding the situation.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree.
Okay.
So the next freedom I kind of want to talk about that's in the First Amendment is freedom of religion. So this has actually been pretty controversial, believe it or not. So what it says, like we talked about earlier, in the actual First Amendment, is that Congress shall make no law establishing or respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. So basically what that means is that Congress or federal government cannot do anything to promote or demote any religion whatsoever. And so this is brought along a lot of controversy. For example, the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster. Yeah. This is a great example of how freedom of religion applies in the United States. But basically, some schools in the United States were trying to teach Christian creationism alongside evolution, which is scientifically backed. And they claimed that it should have an equal standing with the theory of evolution. To which one man replied, well, I have a religion. It's called the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster, and it's totally legitimate. And so he claimed that alongside the theory of evolution and creationism, his theories about how the world was created through the flying spaghetti monster should also be taught in public schools. Quick note, I mean public schools funded by the government, so that would be government influence. Private schools are privately funded, so they can do whatever they want with their curriculum. So what's kind of our opinion on this?
Well,
What role should schools have in religion?
Well, I feel like especially in the United States, Christianity is very popular. So I think them teaching this pretty niche, random religion would be is kind of random. But I also do see what he's saying about yeah, if there's this one religion that's getting teached, then why should uh my religion not get taught? And it's a little unfair, and I get that, but I think it's just based off of the popularity of Christianity because Tobin just brought this up. 62% of United States adults identify as Christian.
Religious studies should be an elective class taught in every high school, for
Yeah,
sure.
I totally
An
agree.
elective class. It should
Yeah,
not be a
yeah.
required class. I think it's very important to learn religion, like
Yeah.
extremely important, but it should not be required curriculum at all.
Yep.
And I want to recommend a book called The World's Religions by Houston Smith because it does a great job of illustrating a bunch of the world's religions, including like Hinduism, Buddhism, all the Abrahamic ones. But it does a great job of not being biased, and it doesn't talk about the bad parts of these religions. It talks about how they were intended to be followed,
Yeah.
and their best parts and how they unite people. And I think religion is a beautiful thing, but it should not be taught as required curriculum at all.
Yeah. Well, and I think the cool part about religious studies classes is they do give equal standing to all the different religions, and so that would not be a violation of the First Amendment
Mhm.
because Congress is not promoting or demoting any specific religion. They're giving equal and fair standing to all of them.
I mean, it's also religion is obviously a very, very important part of history.
Definitely.
In every
for
history
sure.
class, you're going to be learning about how religion influences wars and decisions and everything. And so,
Yeah.
obviously, when talking about religion and classes like that, it's 100% the teacher's job to not talk about it in a way that they're interpreting it for the students at all.
Yeah,
Like
I
they are
totally
leaving
agree.
it completely open up to interpretation for the students.
I was gonna say that, in my opinion, as a Christian, I would say that I feel like it's kind of unfair that we don't have like a separate class for this in schools, rather than just like little snippets of teachers like just like teaching it out. It doesn't really like give much of a perspective on Christianity and religion. So I feel like it should just be a class taught everywhere.
I agree with you, Andrew. I think there should be classes that teach the American children about religion because religion's just kind of such a controversial spot in the United States. So I think just showing people what it is, because I know a lot of people, like especially family, have biases towards
Yep.
just towards certain religions. So I just think educating the American people on popular religions and it could also be a culture thing, like for example, my grandpa, he they didn't have Spanish class or French class, but they had German class because where he was living, German was taught very commonly.
Mhm.
So maybe
Mhm.
they could do it where the popular religion or the popular religion in the area could be taught at the schools. Like I
Okay.
Yeah.
think that's fair.
So I personally don't agree with that. I think that religion. Okay, so first of all, it should be taught in church, right? That's where you go to talk about your religion with people and to learn.
Yeah.
I can get into this too. I think that I think church is a little bit flawed in the fact that I think some pastors try to interpret the Bible for you.
Oh yeah.
They should be reading it for you. Should be able to interpret it for yourself. It's like, I mean, I'm not a Christian, but as far as I'm aware, it's God's word and it's going to speak to you how it needs to. Number two, there are clubs at schools like FCA. That's where you can go learn about your religion. You can go to the club. You can meet people there at school that follow the same religion as you. You can talk about it there. And then also, I think one of the big problems about having a class that strictly teaches Christianity is that same thing I'm talking about, where all of a sudden you have this like you're not trying to learn it for yourself. You're being told what to believe. I think that if you want to learn about religion, you should be reading the Bible on your own. If you want to learn about Christianity, I mean. But I think the kind of class that I think should be in public schools. I mean, also there's private schools you can go to learn about whatever. But in public schools, world religions class or religious studies class should completely equally talk about every religion worldwide and not be biased at all towards one, even if it's the popular one. I personally believe that.
Yeah, I can kind of see what you're saying, Anthony. When it's like taught at school, it's kind of like forcing people to learn about this, and yeah, that kind of changed my idea of that because it would just be kind of better to just do it on your own time. And if you're a Christian or just like want to learn about it, you can just maybe like ask one of your friends about it. Like,
Yeah, I got some insight on on Anthony, but yeah, of course you learn your religion at the church. So yes, just go to church if you want to learn more, and it doesn't have to be taught by the school. That could be a separate thing. So yeah, I got kind of
Yeah.
shut out. But
Yeah, I mean, well, look at the First Amendment too. If we're teaching the most popular religion in whichever region, we're just promoting that religion
Exactly.
in that region.
yeah.
We in the United States, we're people of freedom, and we are free to think what we like and not be told how to think. Yeah, so
Yeah.
so that's kind of why we have that Congress shall make, no establishment of religion or the free exercise thereof. That's why that clause exists.
Again, it's not even that like you're forcing people to learn Christianity, but exactly like Tobin said, you're promoting it if you have a class that's strictly
Exactly.
for that, which
Yep.
is unconstitutional. So,
Exactly. Yep. Well, thank you guys for tuning in today. We're gonna hit the other two, or actually three. I don't think we just did two today. Yeah. Yep. We're gonna hit the other three rights in our next episode. That way we can prepare and have a better case against each other. So maybe we can get into some debates next time. But yeah, thank you so much for tuning in today, and we'll see you next time. 38 Stars is an independently produced podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please consider leaving a review and telling your friends. Thank you for listening.